In the world of racing, few cars have the revered presence of the Ford GT40. It became the first American car to win at Le Mans in 1966, and would go on to achieve 4 consecutive victories at the iconic race. In the decades that followed, dozens tried to replicate the sensual curves, roaring V8, and unruly soul that stirred the hearts of auto enthusiasts at Le Mans. But perhaps none have managed to capture that feeling as accurately as Superformance. South Africa, the 1990s. A young entrepreneur named Jimmy Price was looking to carve out a spot in the replica car market. While other rep brands focused on affordability, Price knew he could bring something more refined to the masses. After purchasing a fiberglass production facility outside Port Elizabeth, Superformance was born. Their first product was a reproduction of the famed Shelby Cobra. Despite being the most replicated car in history, Superformance's Cobra still managed to sell thanks to their custom chassis, something that allowed the proportions and driving dynamics to be as close to the original as possible. It was so similar, in fact, that Carroll Shelby sued the company for trademark infringement. Fortunately, Price reached out to Shelby and struck a deal. A cunning businessman as always, Carroll recognized the potential and ultimately endorsed Superformance, and even bought one for himself. In 2002, Superformance decided to expand their lineup to include the legendary GT40. Like their Cobra replicas, Price knew he wanted the GT40 to be indistinguishable from the original race car, and he went to great lengths to make it happen. The company obtained the original blueprints, parts, and molding that were used to create the real thing. Price traveled the world to inspect authentic examples, copying everything down to the last nut and bolt. The result was spectacular. 2/3 of the parts used by the Superformance replica are compatible with the original car. That includes the identical monocoque chassis, pressed steel roof, and suspension. While other replicas looked like the original, they were typically based on inauthentic space frame platforms, bringing down the cost, but completely altering the road feel. The Superformance car not only looked, but also drove like the real thing. Only a handful of small changes were made to make the car more usable. Most of the original GT40s were right-hand drive, but Superformance offered theirs in either configuration, with the shifter moved to the center tunnel. It also has a custom-engineered air conditioning system, as well as larger seats to accommodate drivers over 6 foot. Because the GT40 raced for the better part of a decade, it continually evolved to remain competitive. For this reason, there are many different variations of the original car, making it difficult to replicate the multitude of subtle changes throughout its career. Superformance solved this dilemma by simply offering 5 different models, each particular to a certain era of GT40. The sleek Mark I that first entered Le Mans in 1964. The Mark II with its gaping intakes that brought Ford their first victory against Ferrari. A GT40R, which is similar to the Mark I with added track-going features such as aerodynamic canards and a roll bar, making it perfect for vintage racing competitions. The GT40 50th Anniversary, which is an homage to Chassis P1075, the car that won Le Mans twice in a row. Finally, the Superformance Future 40, a modern interpretation powered by an equally modern EcoBoost V6. The Superformance lineup is manufactured at the high-tech automotive factory in South Africa. Chassis fabrication, bodywork, paint, and assembly are all done in-house at the 400,000 square foot facility. The cars are then shipped as rollers, which means they include everything except the drivetrain. Once they arrive in the buyer's country, for this example we'll say the United States, the roller gets its engine and transaxle installed by one of the 16 different Superformance dealerships. Importing the car without the drivetrain allows it to be considered an assemblage of parts rather than a motor vehicle in the eyes of the government, meaning it's exempt from complying with the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards. The independent Superformance dealerships are then allowed to install the rest of the car and sell the fully turnkey finished replica under the Low Volume Vehicle Manufacturers Act, which exempts up to 325 cars a year from conforming with modern safety regulations. Since the engine is not supplied by Superformance, owners are granted the creativity to install a number of different motors behind the driver. The company recommends a Roush-prepared crate engine paired with a ZF-style 5-speed transaxle. The Ford-based 289, 302, or 351 Windsor motors will work well. But for the most authentic experience possible, the Superformance Replica can even fit the original 427 big block Ford V8 and T44 transaxle that were used in the real Le Mans winner. Although the cars are often referred to as kits since they leave the factory without a drivetrain, many aficionados prefer the term continuation vehicle. Since the cars are officially licensed by Carroll Shelby and even carry chassis numbers that continue on from the originals, many see the Superformance builds as an extension of the genuine GT40 production run. Their dedication to accuracy even scored them the star role in 2019 film Ford v Ferrari, which retold the tale of the GT40's development and victory against Ferrari in 1966. Superformance supplied replica Cobras and GT40s that were used in both static shots and racing scenes, ultimately including 29 different cars. Those looking for an affordable DIY build are likely better off shopping elsewhere. Superformance's pursuit of authenticity is not hindered by an ordinary budget. The rolling chassis starts at about $153,000, and completed cars can run close to $250,000. But for those who want to experience a piece of racing history in a replica that's as perfect as possible, it's worth every cent. Thanks for watching.